I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile, with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online. Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play. With 20 minutes with the shot force goal. No need for the save from Lorde, and Campbell finds himself in, and it is 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We're in partnership with the Hockey Art Co, hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount on everything site-wide from hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10 upon checkout. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand with top-of-the-range products such as the Beard Hugger, the Dome Shaver Pro, the Weed Whacker and the Lawnmower. You can get 20% off of all of these fantastic products when you use the code 0pucks20. Just 3 weeks left now to use that code. We are also on the Sports Social Podcast Network. It's the largest sport podcast network in Europe, hosting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports, and we are delighted that ZPG Ice Maidens and Zero Pucks Given are a part of it. Well, hello, welcome along. This is episode 168. My name is Ben, and this is Zero Pucks Given. We are the UK Ice Hockey podcast that focuses on the Britton Division, the NIHL 1 South. We have entered the post-season, so we're going to be bringing you, obviously, all the details from the NIHL 1 South, including those exclusive coaches' thoughts from right across the division. And we will also bring you all of the details from all of the playoff semi-finals, as the road to Sheffield is now paved in gold with the teams that know that they are going to the Steel City Showdown at the Bauer Ice Arena in Sheffield this coming weekend, April 12th and 13th. The excitement is palpable. I cannot wait. We are all looking forward to getting up to Sheffield and getting stuck in to the hockey. Just before we got going this weekend, of course, the bans came out from the Department of Player Safety on England Ice Hockey website, and everyone was very, very relieved to see that no players would be missing out from the semi-finals because of any disciplinary issues, which wasn't actually always certain. There was a couple of feisty games during the quarterfinals, but as it stood, no one was going to be suspended. In the Britton Division then, of course, we had Chelmsford Chieftains versus Streatham Redhawks Saturday night at the Riverside, Sunday night on the High Road. And then the champions, Slough Jets. They were hosting the Invicta Dynamos on the Sunday after making the visit there on the Saturday, after Invicta came through Solent Devils in the quarterfinal in somewhat of a surprise. Heading into those semi-finals then, we're going to be bringing you the match reports from all 4 games, coaches' thoughts from all 4 coaches, and obviously the ones that haven't made it have got a good list of thank yous in there as well. So stick with them. They're a bit long, but they what they're saying is incredibly valid, and particularly thanking the fans and the off-ice staff and everything that goes on, because obviously without all the guys at the rink on a Saturday and Sunday night, the game just simply wouldn't happen. You know, obviously the officials, players and everything, that's all part of the game. But all of the off-ice staff do get their mentions in this week's Coaches' Thoughts, which is fantastic to hear. Right then, we'll get started as we normally do. We start with the earlier face-off. So we're going to start with the 5:30 on the Saturday at the Riverside in Chelmsford. We're going to run through both legs and then give you the Coaches' Thoughts from Chelmsford Chieftains against Streatham Redhawks. Well, Saturday night at the Riverside, everyone was kind of expecting something a little bit different than the last time the Streatham Redhawks were in town. That was for the Britton Cup semi-final. And on that night, unfortunately, the Chieftains just didn't turn up. They were beaten 6-1. Then they went to the High Road and they turned it around, winning 5-0 in regulation and then nicking it in overtime. Cliff said in his Coach's Thoughts a couple of weeks ago, we know we cannot afford to do the same thing again. Again, unfortunately, it's kind of what happened. I can't actually put my finger on what went wrong on the night for Chelmsford, but it pretty much all went wrong. The game was quite an even start. It was quite end to end. Both goalies pulling off some tremendous saves at both ends, but the pace of Streatham was really what was causing the difference as they were attacking. Always a three-pronged attack. Everything actually, the way they came forward was very quick, very slick, and very rehearsed. It was the chemistry particularly between Danny Inglesby, JJ Pitchley, Aidan Doughty, Luke Brittle, as they all came forward. It was incredible to see the back checks on the passing. Ryan Watt, just glorious to watch as he normally is. Chelmsford didn't really have much of an answer. And throughout the first period, Liam Chong did kind of spark the odd little bit, but failed to get any support as he made it into the offensive zone. So we thought we'd probably head into the end of the first period at 0-0 and everyone would reset. But literally with about 1 minute and 20 to go in the period, Danny Inglesby broke down the left-hand side. Stead and Josh Eden-Newman had done the hard work in the D-zone, turning the puck over. And as Inglesby went through the neutral zone, he rounded every defender that was there so fast, cut across the left circle and tucked it through the 5-hole to give Streatham a 1-goal lead on 18-36. Probably left Heggs hanging a little bit low as they went into the dressing room. Chelmsford did come out a lot better in the second period, though. They really did stick it on Streatham nice and early. Loads of chances, as I said earlier, with the goalies. Danny Milton pulling off some incredible saves in that second period. And then Chelmsford equalised just before the halfway mark in the game. Not really against the run of play. They were actually coming a lot further into the game. But it was a Dan Hitchings sort of hopeful lob up towards the goal that made it all the way in and into the top corner that made it 1-1 from the blue line on 29:45. Chelmsford really did stick it on Streatham again then and could have really taken the lead. They had plenty of chances. Sasha Maltsev made his way perfectly into the game as well, started weaving his way through the defences, but they were just struggling to get the support. Anytime anyone broke through, they weren't able to sort of attack in any real numbers and cause problems. But despite their dominance in the second period, when it got towards the last couple of minutes, they just seemed to switch off. First of all, Ben Painter nabbed a goal on 38:07 to make it 2-1 after, to be fair, some good work from JJ Pitchley and Aidan Doughty. And then two Chieftains players clashed behind the goal literally 12 seconds after that restart, leaving both of them on the floor. Ziggy Beasley and Ryan Watt, the dynamic duo, doing the good work there to force the errors, and Luke Brittle finishing it off on 38:19. And that two goals really did, it seemed to sink the team a little bit. It did sink the crowd as well. The crowd noise was fantastic all night, but two goals in 12 seconds did seem to have a little bit of an effect on it. Coming back out for the third, I think it was a little bit tentative. Obviously, I don't think Chelmsford wanted to push too hard and find themselves getting tanked at the back. But towards sort of 7 minutes into that period, Danny Inglesby again doing the business and making it 4-1. And then a few minutes later, nabbing his hat-trick and making it 5-1 off of a rebound from a shot from Brendan Bard from the right-hand side. It bounced out off the pad of Lauday into the slot where Inglesby duly mopped up and made it 5-1 on 52:26. Luke Brittle with his second goal of the night, literally a minute later to make it 6-1. Before a couple of minutes later, Ryan Watt comes across the neutral zone unassisted, just past the blue line and fires in the bottom corner for 7-1 on 56:27. Not entirely sure, as I said, what went wrong. Clifford said in his coach's thoughts before, after the semi-final, I think that's the sort of once-in-a-career comeback rather than twice in a season. But it's what was left facing them. Penalty-wise, it was fairly clear all night. Dix was given a penalty for tripping just halfway through the second period. Chieftains killed it quite well. JJ Pitchley took 2 for interference in the last couple of minutes after it was 7-1. Redhawks killed it off quite well. So not really the first leg that they were looking for. A good send-off for Jordan Lauday after this was, of course, his final home game for the Chieftains, announcing his retirement and move to Canada. So a lovely send-off there. The crowd, again, they all stuck around for the Man of the Match awards and to give the guys a round of applause off. And from what I heard, there was quite a few hundred heading down to the Streatham Redhawks home ground on the high road for the Sunday night. A couple of coaches full at the very, very least. So everyone headed down into South London for the second leg. Well, the mammoth task that it was to come back again from such a large deficit, it was just a little bit too far beyond them. Again, a fairly even start, both goalies pulling out some fantastic saves. We were doing Hockey Night Live here on Zero Pucks Given, keeping everybody up to date with everything that was going on. I received a few messages and a few videos from the high road where the atmosphere looked absolutely incredible. And the Travelling Chieftains fans took up an entire block of the main stand at the high road, which absolutely looked visually stunning. And the noise was palpable to everybody who was within the arena. Just before the halfway mark of the game, though, after a tight first period, Josh Ely-Newman sort of put the tie really beyond any doubt with Ziggy Beasley and Preston Toombs on the assist for 27.56, making it 1-0. Before the second was out, they really had stuck the knife in. Roman Cathcart getting the second goal on 34.39 as Jared Lane has the puck behind the goal, knocks it into the slot, and Cathcart comes onto it and tucks it away quite nicely. Before Danny Inglesby nailed his 10th goal of the playoffs already on 38.05 to make it 3-0 to the Streatham Redhawks. Sam Russell did pull one back from close range for the Chieftains right at the start of the second period, but the deficit was just too much to make up. They gave themselves a little bit too much to do over the two legs. So the Streatham Redhawks make the playoff final as they were staring down the barrel of a first trophyless season in quite some time, but they really did dig in over these two legs and get the job done in quite spectacular fashion. But now the season is done for the Chelmsford Chieftains. A few players that I'm sure will be looking forward to a rest before they look at coming back next season. But of course, that we'll all find out in the summer. But after the 10-2 aggregate loss, we got the thoughts of Chelmsford Chieftains head coach Lewis Clifford.
Yeah, so end of the season for us, we reached the end of the road last night. Tough one, really. I think I'm not going to dwell on it too much. We all know what happened on Saturday, and I think we probably did it to death. But in the sort of 20 hours between the end of the game and the start of the next game, Streatham had us beat all ends up. I thought we played well for two periods, and then they jumped on our weakness, really. We had a period of weakness, and they were there to capitalise, as good teams do, and they buried us. And going into Sunday, we knew we'd completed the great escape in that building once this year, and it could have been possible, but that would have required scoring a lot of goals and scoring them sort of spread out throughout the game, but certainly starting early, which we just weren't able to do. And in isolation, that game on Sunday, if you take away Saturday's game, it's frustrating because I actually don't feel it was a 3-1 game, and I'm sure Paints and Streatham people may disagree with me. I thought there was two teams absolutely going at it, and they were obviously aware that they couldn't let it slip like they did in the cup, and we knew what we needed to do to try and make amends for Saturday night, and what a game it was. I haven't even seen the game sheet. I don't even know if I'll ever see it or look at it now at this point. But I felt like, I don't know what the shots were, but the chances were certainly equal, I thought, and fair play to Danny Milton. Like, some of the saves he was making, whether he knew about them or not, I don't know. I'm not a goalie. I've never been a goalie. I don't really understand the position in great detail, but my God, some of those saves he was making, like, hats off to the guy. And if he plays like that next weekend, I feel like, you know, Streatham will be lifting at least one trophy, to be completely honest with you. 8 games we've played against them this year, and you know, the league games were kind of split. I think they got the edge over us in the league games. Obviously, we won the cup semi. They beat us in the playoffs, and it shows how fine the margins are there for us. Because, you know, if we had a different third period on Saturday, Sunday's game was totally different. But I was really proud of the way we responded on Sunday, and you know, we knew really kind of early on in that game where it was heading, but no one stopped, and at the end of the day it was a matter of sort of professional and personal pride, and no one shirked their responsibility, no one took a backward step, and I have to be proud of that when the dust settles. So yeah, best of luck to the 2 teams that are remaining, Slough and Streatham. They finished 1-2 in the league, right? And now they're in the playoff final against each other, which gives us all a benchmark that if we want to be winning more trophies next year, they're the sort of levels we need to get to. It'll be very interesting to see how that game plays out. You know, I kind of think for the league it would be cool if Streatham won it and all 3 trophies go to 3 different teams. Obviously, then with the potential of Slough winning the national, and then whoever wins Saturday winning the national playoff on the Sunday. But no, it's been a good season, and I think it's hard sometimes to, in the immediate sort of aftermath of a game like that, like it's hard to see the positives. But it's important that we do. It's very, very important that we do. You know, there's 3 trophies you can win, and we've won one of them. It's not necessarily how we wanted it to end. You know, we wanted more than one, for example, and you know, we certainly wanted to be in Sheffield next weekend with our fans, but we're not, and it is what it is, and that's on us. It's not on anybody else. So thanks to everybody who's contributed this year, both to our team on and off the ice, but also around the league. You know, it's been a great season, and it's been great battling with everybody across the course of the season. But I'd just like to finish off by saying, like, I don't think I've really seen anything like it with our fans. Last night in Streatham was something I'm not familiar with, to be honest with you. You know, I've coached at clubs with huge fan bases before, and with loud, passionate fans, brilliant fan bases, but to be in there when we're 7-1 down, before the game even starts, making the kind of noise and atmosphere that they made, in the numbers that they travelled in, I was absolutely overwhelmed and taken aback by it, and I just want to thank every single one of those people from the bottom of my heart for not only what you did for us yesterday, but what you've done for us across the course of the season. Well, my 2 seasons here really, but I feel like it's grown this year. And yeah, we're very lucky. We're very, very lucky to have such a passionate, large following that gets behind us no matter what. You know, it would be easy for people to have not got on that bus or that train or that car on Sunday after what happened on Saturday. And I don't think anyone cancelled their plans, and it was unbelievable. And I just, you know, I can't say it enough, but thank you so much to everyone who's got behind us this year. And thanks to my players. You know, do I get annoyed with them at times? Of course. Do they probably feel the same about me at times? Definitely. But you know, we are a team that wants to win. We have won. You know, and they put it all out there for me, and I can't ask for any more than that. Thanks to all our off-ice staff, everyone who does a job on, like, behind the scenes or, you know, on the bench, people that help on match nights. It's such a good operation down in Chelmsford, and we're really lucky to have you all. And thanks to, obviously, my closer staff, Clemmer, my assistant coach. He's kept me sane many times this year, and talked me off the ledge a few times probably, and physios, Gemma and Miko, Paul and Stu that do our equipment for us, and everyone associated with the club, and a massive thanks to the owners as well, Derek and Karen, who they're about as good as owners can be, really. Nothing reasonable that we ever ask for doesn't get delivered, and as a coach, that is probably the biggest thing you can have. I've worked for lots of different types of owners, and they're certainly up there with the very, very best that I've ever had to deal with. So thanks to everybody. Summertime now, it looks summery. It'll take a few days to get over what happened to us at the weekend, but we'll come back stronger, and we'll see you all again. Enjoy your summers, guys, and thank you very much for the season we've had.
And after his side exercised the ghosts of the Britton Cup semi-final, the Streatham Red Hawks are now paving the road up to Sheffield for the Steel City Showdown. Their player coach, Ben Painter, gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, obviously playoff semi-final against Chelmsford this weekend, over 2 legs, which is something that I think we enjoy as players and fans. The 2-legged semi-final is good. And yeah, obviously we go to Chelmsford on the Saturday, knowing that we've had some successes this year. Don't get me wrong, we had at the beginning of the year that we weren't very good, and we got convincingly beat. But of late, we've had some really good performances in Chelmsford, and we were confident. I think we were confident going into the weekend. We know what Chelmsford are as a team. We know what their strengths are, we know what their weaknesses are. I think going into that game on Saturday was the 7th time we've played them this year. So we were well aware of what we were coming up against and what we needed to do to try and beat them. And we go into that game on the Saturday. We're definitely confident. Didn't necessarily have the best of starts. Chelmsford came out after really quite hard. At the start of the first, so I don't think we had the best of start. But once we kind of got into the period, once we got past our first couple of shifts, we really did settle in and started taking the game to them a little bit. And I think the first period was really even. I think maybe both teams feeling each other out a little bit. But I think ultimately it was an end-to-end period that was pretty even, and it could have gone either way. Obviously, we ended the period 1-up. We scored a late goal. It was a real late, sort of last-minute goal in the first period, which probably settled us down a little bit, and maybe frustrated them a little bit. And ultimately, it was a good way to end a period of good hockey, I think. Going to the second, and recently our seconds haven't been great, and again on Saturday it wasn't great. Chelmsford upped the intensity, they came out flying, and we didn't sort of push back on that as well as I'd hoped. It wasn't a great period, and ultimately was our worst period of the weekend. But we still ended the period with a 2-1. Still won the period 2-1, going into the third with a 3-1 lead. Chelmsford came really hard, and ultimately we didn't push back as well as I'd hoped. Defensively we were sound, and we kept them to the outside, and we just didn't have maybe that extra jump that we had in the first. But we stuck with it. They were the better team for probably 15 minutes of that period, but for the last 5 we decided to push back, dig our heels in a little bit, and we got rewarded with 2 goals and ultimately won the period 2-1. So 3-1 going into the third, and I think really that was where obviously the damage was done. We had a great third period. We're clinical and really sort of switched on and took the game to them, and I think we did a really good job of grinding them down in a way that we were winning our battles all night, and winning our 50-50 pucks and going to work that way that we got rewarded for it. So yeah, really pleased. We took our goals really nicely, and defensively we were solid. So yeah, leaving Chelmsford 7-1 up is obviously after a first leg is sort of really pleased. But I'd be a liar if I didn't say that we had it in the back of our mind what happened in that cup semi-final a couple of months ago, obviously, where we threw away a 6-1 lead after the first leg. So it was definitely in my mind, and it was definitely the forefront of my message on Sunday going into that game, that does not happen again. And I could tell that with the confidence in the room, and that sort of in the back of our mind, that frustrated us when that happened, and I knew that we wouldn't allow that to happen again. And it was good to see the way we performed on the Sunday and went into that game with the right mindset of we always treated that game as a 0-0 game, and took the game to chances instead of sitting back and trying to defend our lead. We really took the game to them. So, yeah, I think again, end-to-end first period. I think it was pretty even and played in the right fashion. And then we go into the second, and I really put an emphasis on the boys to make sure they give me a strong second period. Our second periods, like I said, have not been great of late, and I really sort of put the emphasis on make sure it's our best period of the weekend, or if not our second best period of the weekend. Obviously the third the night before was really good, and I said to the boys that look, we don't need to necessarily score goals, but we need to make sure that we're playing the right way, with defensively sound, and we were really good. And ultimately it was the period that put the tie to bed. I think we scored 2 goals and yeah, made it 10-1 at the time, and yeah, was really pleased with how we responded and managed our emotions going through that second period. Then we go into the third, and it was a case of, look, we don't need to score goals, we just don't need to get scored on. We managed the puck really well, managed our possession really well, and our emotions, and ultimately we obviously conceded one to make it 3-1 on the night, but I was really pleased with how we managed that period and ultimately how we played the whole weekend. I think we were probably the better team over the weekend, but I wouldn't say that the 10-2 scoreline was a reflection of the weekend. I think we really did battle. It was an end-to-end weekend of hockey. It was fast, it was physical. I think it was played in the right spirit, and ultimately a 10-2 weekend is. I think the difference was we were clinical with our chances when we had them, and Milts had a brilliant weekend in our net, the other end. So ultimately, yeah, was really pleased with the weekend and how we got it done. It was a great weekend of hockey. It was fast, physical, and it goes to show exactly why, as players, as coaches, as teams, at clubs, why we want the 2-legged playoff games and instead of the weekend. Why we like the semi-final to be over 2 legs. Obviously, something we haven't had in a while. So I think it was 2 very noisy buildings. I've got to take my hat off to travelling Chelmsford support on Sunday to travel to Streatham with your team 7-1 down on a sunny Sunday afternoon, with that many people and to be that noisy. It really did make the building noisy on Sunday, and hats off to where it's due to those travelling supporters. That was a hell of an atmosphere that they helped create on Sunday. And again, obviously, I've got to take my hat off to Chelmsford in terms of their match night experience on the Saturday. That I think that their match night experience is brilliant. It's definitely something that that every team in the league should be striving for. And ultimately their DJ is second to none. He knows how to get their crowd noisy, and he knows how to put on a show. So yeah, it was a really good atmosphere. And then finally, I just want to say thanks to the travelling Streatham supporters. Obviously, we go everywhere with us, and whether we're going to Milton Keynes or we're going to Chelmsford or Invicta or wherever it is, we've got a real loyal away travel. Yeah, really appreciate your support all year, and obviously with it being our final home game of the season on Sunday, we really appreciated all the support at home this year as well. So we really hope to see as many of you as we can in Sheffield, and yeah, we really look forward to Sheffield next weekend.
But who would the Redhawks be facing in Sheffield? That came down to the other semi-final as the champions, the Slough Jets, made the trip down to Gillingham to face the Invicta Dynamos. And it was a fairly good start from the visitors. They got themselves on the board nice and early. It's one of those rinks that if you don't get started well, you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble. Didn't happen to Slough. They were skating well, passing well, got their gameplay going early, and Benny Lee Newman gave them the lead on 6:43. Right at the start of the second period, almost like a gut check really for the Invicta Dynamos, thinking just keep it tight at the start of this period. But Brandon Miles assisted Benny Lee Newman to double his tally for the night and double the Slough Jets lead just a minute and 43 into the second period. Pretty much straight from the restart, though, Invicta did pull one back when Colvin and Pywell assisted James Lamming on at 22-12 to make it 2-1. But just after the midway point of the game on 31-27, Ollie Hemmings-Maher and Jack Goodchild assisted Seb Moore to make it 3-1 to the Slough Jets. And 30 seconds later, Juha Lindgren assisted Christian Moore to make it 4-1. Pretty much straight from that restart, just under 20 seconds, Dylan Holliger assisted Brandon Miles to make it 5-1, making it 3 goals in less than 50 seconds for the Slough Jets. and that really turned the tie into their favour massively. Into the third period then, and Invicta, trying to keep it tight, did pretty well for the first 10 minutes of that period, but on 49-42, Juha Lindgren popped up with his first goal of the game, and 30 seconds after that, got his second to make it 7-1 to the Slough Jets on the night. Both semi-finals having exactly the same score. Not too sure who had that on their bingo card, but I'm pretty sure that would have been a rare one. So 7-1 to the Slough Jets, and it's all back to the hangar for the second leg. Well, we would be expecting what the Slough Jets have had to do for the last couple of weeks, to be fair. They got themselves, when they won the league, they had Cardiff coming to visit. We would say that there was nerves in the air, but when you look at the stats, look at the game and see how many shots they actually had, it was, to be fair, just that Ben Scanlon was having one of those evenings on the league-winning game, and they eventually got the job done 2-0. Then after having a big lead over Cardiff in the playoff quarter-final, they came back home and again did a very professional job, and that's exactly what was in their minds to do in this second leg here, having already got the 7-1 lead from the first leg. The first period, pretty tight. Couple of penalties, one each side actually. Brad Winterbank taking a 2 for tripping. Slough unable to capitalise. Right at the end of the first, Ben Ely Newman took 2 for tripping. Invicta unable to capitalise either side of the break. 25-24 though, the Jets did take the lead when Christian Moore assisted Juha Lindgren for his third goal of the playoff series. And then you could have thought they'd have gone running riot, but Invicta actually pulled it back as Aaron Connolly and Tom Saw assisted Louis Colvin on the power play after Neil Lydiard had been sat for holding. 28-49 on that equalising goal. Literally a minute before, 59 seconds in fact, before the end of that second period though, a short-handed goal after Ben Ely Newman had been given 2 for slashing. The Jets broke out when Lydiard and Seb Moore assisted Jack Goodchild, who got his fourth goal of the playoffs, to make it 2-1 to Slough on 39-01. Into the third period, and again a thoroughly professional performance from the home side, making it 3-1 on 48-24 when Ollie Hemmings-Mayer got his fifth assist of the playoffs, assisting Seb Moore to make it 3-1, before his brother got in on the act yet again on the power play after Richard Harris had been given 2 for roughing, and then Sam Oliver given 2 for boarding. Brandon Miles was in the box as well for roughing with Richard Harris, so Oliver making that man deficit. Jack Goodchild and Seb Moore assisting Christian Moore as the Holy Trinity combined to make it 4-1 on the power play on 51-36. And that was all she wrote from the hangar, at 11-2 victory on aggregate. And we are going to see the top two from the Britton Division go head-to-head in Sheffield for the Grand Britain final on Saturday at the Bauer Ice Arena. After the game, and actually after he travelled all the way to Italy for work, Carl Lennon gave his thoughts to Zero Pucks Given as the Invicta Dynamo season comes to an end.
So that's the end of our season, and quite a humbling experience to finish with. The score would reflect that Slough were the dominant team, and I can confirm that. They were, from start to finish, the team that really made life incredibly difficult for us. And, really at no point in the two games did we look like we were going to be the victor, which is a devastating thing for me to have to say as a coach, but it was the reality. The better team won, and, they're league champions for a reason, and they were, deserving, they are deserving playoff finalists. And, we set up for the weekend knowing that we're one of a couple of teams that had taken points across the season on them, and there was an element of confidence on our part that we could stick with them and really put in a performance, and we just never really did that. We went down in the first period at home on Saturday, and they had an outstanding second period, and we had a horrendous one. We gave up too many odd man rushes that resulted in Windy being hung out to dry by their quick pace, and it wasn't a reflection on how he played. Quite the opposite. It was defensive lapses and bad back checking from our forwards that resulted in problems for us, and then adding to that a couple of power play goals along the way as well too, and the lead that they took on Saturday night kind of cemented the reality that they would be in the final come next weekend. And so Sunday was a big task, of course, and I thought we started quite well, and then we
we just sort of dipped towards the end of the game a little bit again. And, honestly speaking, that they were, without question, complete control the whole way through. And I think the biggest reflection of that for me was just watching their sort of final few shifts of the third period on Sunday night when, they've got a 6 or 7 goal lead and they're closing down, forechecks like they did in the first period on Saturday. And that's all credit to them. And, congratulations not only on the league win, but of course to get to this final. And I said to Lucas before now that, I've got huge admiration of what he's done there. I mean, it's not a short-term project. It's a very long-term project where he's been developing young talent for quite some time now. And the product that they're putting on the ice is quite exceptional, and they should be very proud of that. So, yeah, they're deserving winners. And, I'm sure that, I guess the two most consistent teams across the season are now in the final, and we'll see what that brings. For us, I think, a welcome break, and a shame that we won't be there next weekend because we'd have loved to finish in that way. But there's been a season of highs and lows, and we obviously need to reset as a club after all of the sort of learnings that we've taken from this season. And I must just say from my side, it's a pleasure to always be a part of this with you, Ben, and what you do with the awareness you raise for our division, and also, good insights that we hear every week from the other coaches. So enjoy your summer, and thanks for everything you've done for us. Cheers.
And after his side showed all the professionalism that he would have asked for, Slough Jets head coach Lucas Smittle gave his thoughts to ZPG.
I thought we had another strong weekend, controlled the game pretty much throughout the 120 minutes. To be fair, Victor played hard, but it was good to see that we can match it up and get better of ourselves, especially at Invicta. It's a tough place to play, but it went into our favor. We took our chances really well and play very responsible hockey. On Sunday, we knew they got nothing to lose. They're probably gonna go really hard, and so we needed to make sure we come harder, and we did. And credit to the team, they for such a young group, they played really, really mature hockey over the weekend, and we're really looking forward to go to Sheffield, and we know who we're getting. It's a tough team to play against. We don't have a great record against them, but again, this is a sport, and we're gonna do our best to succeed and go from there. So focus on Saturday, and then we're gonna be thinking what's gonna happen next. But Saturdays is important for us, and we're gonna do our best to get prepared as best as we can, and just enjoy the ride.
Well, now we know then the leagues 1 and 2 will face off in the playoff final at Ice Sheffield next Saturday, April the 12th, at the Steel City Showdown. The season between those two, the series has been 3 games to Streatham, 1 game to Slough. Quite a few occasions where Slough took big leads and let it slip. So there's a lot of mentality going to be at play at that playoff final, and we'll wait and see what the result is. Let's have a look at the stars of the week then. We're going to start with the third star of the week, and it comes from the Slough Jets. Bagging himself 2 goals and 2 assists over the weekend. This cracking young player has really improved this year, and we expect him to improve once again next year. The third star of the week is Slough Jets Sebastian Moore. And we will stick in Slough for the second star of the week, and it goes to the man who came in about halfway through the season and really had a massive effect on this Slough Jets side. Juha Lindgren bagging himself 3 goals and 1 assist over the playoff semi-final weekend. But the star of the week this week, bagging himself 4 goals with 1 assist. He's got 10 goals already in the playoffs. He really has taken it by the scruff of the neck. The star of the week is yet again Danny Inglesby. Right then, let's have a look how the rest of the Steel City Showdown is going to be filling up. Up in North 1, again, we were looking at League champions Billingham Stars and the second place Blackburn Hawks. They both had ties looking to come through to face off against each other again in this year's playoff finals. The Billingham Stars had it all their own way. They went to D-side on the Saturday night and took a 9-1 victory away from North Wales. Blackburn Hawks, obviously, there was a little bit of a change around with how the fixture should have gone. It should have been Blackburn at home on the Sunday rather than the Saturday, but apparently a birthday party at Planet Ice in Solihull meant that it all got changed around, and Blackburn eventually gave this game as a completely free entry game to everybody. And it didn't quite go their way. They went behind very early to Nicholas Otterson before Aaron Davis pulled it back just after the halfway mark. Solihull then retook the lead through Jacob Race and then doubled it very quickly through Zach Yokohama to make it 3-1 before Darius Barforth pulled back what was a vital goal on 58-56, leaving the Solihull Barons with a 3-2 lead at the end. The Sunday night, yet again, it all went Billingham's way at the Forum, and they took a 12-2 win over the D-side Dragons, making it 21-3 on aggregate. Spreading the goals around as well, which was fantastic to see, both even-handed and on the power play. Billingham Stars are on course for what is a very, very impressive Grand Slam this year, and in that form, I'm not too sure who stands in their way. Who stands in their way in the final, though, of the playoffs? That was decided down in Solihull on Sunday night. We covered it on Hockey Night Live. My main man, Graham Hamilton, was nice enough to keep me updated. Solihull actually took an early lead, 34 seconds into the game, giving them that 4-2 lead on aggregate, but then Blackburn really woke up. Adam Barnes made it 1-1 on 3:06. Jacob Lutwich put them back ahead on 11:39, but still not level on aggregate. Alex White got one on the breakaway to make it 2-2, all before the end of the first period. And then Blackburn really took control of the game into the second period. Goals from James Riddock, a double from Jacob Lutwich gave them a 5-2 lead going into the third. And then Andy McKinney nicked one right at the start of the third period to make it 6-2 on the night, 5-8 on aggregate. And Blackburn Hawks will face the Billingham Stars yet again in the Moralee playoff final this Saturday at Ice Sheffield. As we're up north, we'll stay up north and we'll go to North 2. And again, we're looking at the top two. Are they going to be facing each other? Well, yes, they are. The Billingham Buccaneers made it a little bit difficult for the Sutton Sting. On the Saturday, though, the Sting came out with a 6-5 win over the Billingham Buccaneers from the Forum to head back down to Ice Sheffield, whereas the other tie was a little bit more cutthroat as the Telford Tigers 2 took a 4-0 victory against the Coventry Blaze. Vladimir Luka getting on the score sheet again for the Tigers and providing a couple of assists. The second legs on the Sunday night, which again obviously we covered on Hockey Night Live, Sutton Sting took a 4-2 win at home to the Buccaneers. Morgan Glasby with a couple of goals, Lawson Glasby with one as well for Sutton. So a 10-7 aggregate win for the league runners-up, and they take their place in the Laidler playoff final. And they are joined by the Telford Tigers. They added to their 4-0 lead from the night before and got a 7-1 victory over the Blaze up at Telford Ice Arena, making it 11-1 on aggregate. So the league and cup champions are now into the playoff final where they face the Sutton Sting. And we could have actually a little bit of something a little later on, like a National League type matchup in that National 2 playoff final. But we'll jump down quickly to the south and let you know what went on there. Guildford Phoenix, the first leg at the Oxford's Rising Stars at the Ox Pens, they ran riot and took a 12-0 win in the first leg. Spreading the goals around as well. Two-way player with MK, Sean Reynolds, getting himself on the goal scoring charts as well. Teo Sire, who played a little bit with Milton Keynes. Josh Abbott, who's played up with Oxford City Stars as well. All on the score sheet for Guildford. They spread the goals around the team and they spread it across the game as well. The first one coming on a minute 20, the last one coming on 59:40. The other tie that night was also quite wide scored up at Planet Ice in Peterborough, where the Peterborough Phantoms 2 took a 6-1 victory against the Cardiff Canucks. Despite Cardiff taking the lead on just 29 seconds, the final goal coming off 59:08 from James Pentecost, 6-1 on the night to the Peterborough Phantoms 2. Into the Sunday then, and Guildford did the professional job at home and took a 5-1 victory against the Oxford Rising Stars. 17-1 on aggregate. Not such good viewing. A short-hander in there from Theo Sire as well, breaking away on his own on 51.08. But the final goal from Sol Studley on 56.16, confirming the Guildford Phoenix, the league champions, taking their place in the playoff final. And Peterborough Phantoms, they also went and did the professional job down in Wales. James Pentecost on the score sheet again with a delayed penalty goal on 4:29. 4-0 it ended. Leo Markey, a former Chelmsford Chieftain and Romford Buccaneers player, getting a power play goal right at the end to make it 4-0 to the Peterborough Phantoms, a 10-1 aggregate win. And the League 1 and 2 will be in the playoff final for the Wilkinson Division as well. Right across the playoff finals then, it's the league champions against the league runners-up. No real shocks in the playoffs, but I suppose that means that we are going to get 4 incredibly high-quality games. And going back to what I said before, what can now happen then on the Sunday if the Peterborough Phantoms, the Cup, Wilkinson Cup and Eddie Joseph Memorial Trophy champions, if they come through the Guildford Phoenix on the Saturday and the Telford Tigers come through the Sutton Sting on the Saturday, we could have like a National League matchup on the Sunday, as the Telford Tigers and Peterborough Phantoms second side could well go head-to-head on that Sunday. Well, let's have a little look then at how it's actually going to go down next weekend. I'm absolutely buzzing to get up there. I've got to leave my house very, very early on Saturday morning. Myself and Nicky Watt will be previewing the entire playoffs event later this week. We'll be meeting up nice and early and having some breakfast in Sheffield. Doors open at Ice Sheffield at 9:45. As far as I'm aware, when you've booked tickets, you have an allocated seat, so you shouldn't have to really worry about people sitting where you paid for. So all the fans can kind of be in their own blocks together and then all mingle in as well, because the playoff weekend is just a fantastic opportunity for hockey fans to meet, interact, have a drink, have something to eat, and just enjoy the hockey. You may actually enjoy it even more if your club isn't there. So how it's going to play out then the first day at the Ice Sheffield, the Bauer Arena. 9:45 is doors. 10:45 we will get the Laidler playoff final, which is going to be Telford Tigers 2 against the Sutton Sting. At 13:45, so 1:45, we're going to get the Wilkinson playoff final, which is Guildford Phoenix against Peterborough Phantoms 2. At 4:45 we'll get the Moralee playoff final, Billingham Stars versus the Blackburn Hawks. And at 7:45, the prime time slot for the Britton Division final, Slough Jets versus Streatham Redhawks. On Sunday the 13th, the doors will open at 12 p.m. and we will see the winners face off against each other in the national playoff finals. So the national playoff Div 2 final will face off at 1 p.m. and that will be either Telford Tigers or Sutton Sting versus Guildford Phoenix or Peterborough Phantoms 2. And the National Division 1 playoff final will face off at 4:30, and that will be Billingham Stars or Blackburn versus Slough Jets or Streatham Redhawks. There are some very, very minimal amounts of tickets still available. If you are about this weekend and you can afford it, get yourself up to Sheffield. It's going to be a fantastic weekend of hockey. It is being live streamed. The details aren't out just yet. As soon as they are out, we will share them out. I'm trying to wangle my way up onto the commentary gantry for the South games at the very least. But what we will be doing all weekend is bringing you chats with the players, chats with the coaches, chats with the fans, and behind-the-scenes footage, as much as we can possibly get for you. I've got a little wireless mic. I'm going to be roving around and talking to people. If you do see me at Ice Sheffield, please come and say hello. It's lovely to meet everybody when we go up to these great big events. And I'm absolutely buzzing to see you all there. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Roundup episode. That's it then. This part of the season is all done. We now head to the showpiece event. So we've only really got a couple of episodes left in this season of ZPG 3.0. As I said earlier, later this week, myself and Nicky Watt from 4000 and Counting, we will be breaking down the Steel City Showdown, previewing it, going through the team's chances, what we think will happen, and planning a little bit of stuff that we're going to be doing over the weekend. As I've said a couple of times before, after the final game on Saturday night, we will be doing a live YouTube breakdown, sort of ESPN Chicklets type style breakdown of all the games of the day. So really looking forward to that as well. We just don't know exactly where it's going to be going out, whether it's going out on 4000, on ZPG or England Ice Hockey, but we'll get all of that confirmed for you. Then, of course, after the weekend, we'll have a roundup episode from the Saturday. That will come out on the Sunday morning. And then on the Monday, we'll have a roundup of the Sunday. and then we'll have one more episode where we'll break down everything that happened in the Britton Division this week. I do just want to hand out a massive thank you to all the coaches for sending in their thoughts this week. As we've got to the end of the season, we now have a full house, which is absolutely terrific. I cannot thank you guys enough for just taking that little bit of time out of your day to send us a little clip of what you thought of the weekend. It does make such a massive difference to the podcast. We are the only sport podcast in the world that has coaches' thoughts from right across the division that we cover, and it's absolutely fantastic stuff. A massive thanks to you all for listening across the last week as well. As I said on Hockey Night Live last night, we were top of the Apple podcast charts for 3 consecutive days, top of the Spotify charts for 2 consecutive days as well, which is when we see ourselves sitting above the likes of Spitting Chicklets and 32 Thoughts and the Athletics and stuff like that. These are enormous podcasts with enormous following, so it really does make us feel good about what we do when we see that stuff coming in. And obviously all the social interaction has just been fantastic. We've put a lot of posts out about the Steel City Showdown, and we will continue to do so. So if you're not going to be there, make sure you get yourself a stream and then keep your eyes on the social media so that you do not miss a thing from the Steel City Showdown, brought to you by England Ice Hockey Events Team. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.